Chairman, we thank you for rescheduling today. I think we'll make 1 o'clock a hard stop time for today, and we have the Division of Administrative Services. Yesterday, the manager's office did not give our budget because we ran out of time. So if there's time today, Akeem and I will do I take the manager's budget. Akeem talks about the comms budget. But 1 o'clock will be a hard stop. So if admin services goes that long, we'll just push that back to another day. So that'll be the plan.
Sounds good. Tanya, you on?
I am. Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Tanya Cole, Assistant County Manager. So this afternoon, we are here to talk about the 2023 budget development for the Division of Admin Services. So included in that are 4 departments. That is Courthouse Police, Facilities Department, Central Services, and Fleet Management. And these are your internal services department that provides support to the department and programs that give that direct support and services to our community and the organization. So in order today, you will hear from Courthouse Police Chief Daryl Haynes, Facilities Department Director Andrew Diltz, Central Services Manager Corey Stokes, and Fleet Management Director Bo Bergeron. So I'm going to turn the podium over to Courthouse Police Chief Daryl Haynes.
Afternoon, Chief.
Okay, I'd like to get started with our workforce. This identifies some of the issues that we've got going. We're desperate. We are trying to retain officers. We're trying to hire officers. And as far as commissioned police officers, we're at 50% staffing. Part-time officers, we have 1 officer who's on a long-term medical leave, and he takes us down to 83% with his absence. And then part-time service officers, we have 2 open positions. So we are having great difficulty obtaining officers and retaining officers. So I'll just show you that. Our strategic plan, strategic goal is to protect the courthouse campus. We are the first responders for the courthouse campus and the juvenile courthouse campus. And we provide safety services for everyone. And we respond down to the Reagan building. We respond up to the office of the medical director. And we do the screening for the courthouse. We verify that the persons admitted are employees or that they've been properly screened. And we prevent dangerous items and weapons from coming into the courthouse. We keep a 24-hour presence on the courthouse campus. We have a control center to monitor entry alarms, fire alarms, system alarms, and camera systems. So, for example, if there's an alarm at the election warehouse, we can bring it up on the camera system and see what's going on in there. The response is actually going to be the WPD, but if we see somebody in there with a gun, we can warn them that they're in there. We provide a uniform patrol of the courthouse and juvenile courthouse campuses, and we take care of the domestic dockets, which are the protection from stalking and protection from abuse dockets of the district court. They're held in the jury room every Thursday, and those are have a very strong potential for violence. In fact, for example, the guy who shot up the XL Corporation in Heston was subpoenaed to be in the protection from abuse docket, and his reaction was to shoot up his business there in Heston. So that's the type of people we deal with, people who by law cannot even be anywhere near each other. We put them all in one room on a Thursday, and we have to watch them and make sure they don't cause problems. We also administer the access control systems, and we supply the subject matter expertise for the camera systems and the access control systems. And so we take care of card access issues, and there are plenty. Our system's a little old and has a pending CIP for the access control. We also provide the proper selection, training, and equipment for our people, which is difficult, as we'll get into a little bit later here. Our challenges: we're currently down 6 full-time commissioned officers. That's 50% of our full-time staff, and we've had open positions all year, and we are doing what we can to get officers, but we're not having a lot of luck. Our pay scale is not kept parity with our competition, which is the small police departments in Sedgwick County. We've lost officers to the federal courthouse, the Hayesville PD, Mulvane PD, Mays PD, 2 to the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. We've also lost them to the Wellington PD. We've lost officers to WSU Tech Security. We lost 1 to Animal Control. And then we have sickness, retirement, and jobs paying more in the private sector, which has caused us issues. Pay for courthouse police, and you've all been, I saw the sheriff make his presentation, and he showed you this graph. In fact, Commissioner Dennis, you take a good picture there. So I used that screenshot, and I looked at what courthouse police makes per hour compared to other police departments in Sedgwick County. And I thought we were going to edge out Bentley and be behind Colwich, but I found out Bentley actually pays $16 an hour for their officers, and they're only part-time officers, and we pay $15.40 an hour to start with. We're in a desperate situation, and for example, the city of Wichita has non-commissioned screeners, and they pay $18.71 an hour. The director of HR was talking about the possibility of like a 12% raise. That wouldn't even phase this, because it would take 21.55% to get to what the city of Wichita currently pays their screeners. So no wonder we're having problems recruiting and retaining. And it's just, somebody's got to be last, but I really am sad that it's us. So we've had officers, we are surviving by officers working lots of overtime. We are having officers who, Lieutenant Wiemeyer at the back of the room worked midnight shift on Saturday night, and another supervisor worked midnight shift on Sunday night because we're trying to get that shift filled. And so that cuts down on, working during the week. Literally, when we had jury duty and all the people coming in on Monday, we had a line down the sidewalk because we couldn't process them any faster. So that's the dire situation we're in, and we keep holding off, and we've been told, raises are coming, but it's to the point that we are desperate. Consequences of low staffing are less patrols to the outlying buildings. We're spending less time in the Reagan building, and less time patrolling on the outside, slower response to emergency calls. Officers can't take on other duties such as rough-in building, which, we're not even including the 1.5 officers to staff that in our numbers. At times, we're only having 2 officers staffing the entry points at the front of the courthouse, one armed and one not armed, and that's risky and dangerous. One of the things about when we make arrests, and we do make quite a few warrant arrests, if we don't have sufficient officers to respond, then there's a danger that we'll have to get into fights, and we try to avoid that. And there's a potential for officers getting hurt and the person being arrested getting hurt. The frustration and the burnout is definitely a factor. Our officers are getting frustrated and burned out. As far as the budget, it's flat, and just a normal change from year to year. You'll see that the commodities and contractuals have some minus numbers, and that's just because some numbers flipped on contractuals and commodities. And that's what I have.
Very good. Commissioners, questions for the chief? I guess I've got a question for the manager. We looked at last year at the sheriff's department, and we gave them, through finding some contingency money and so forth, some funding so that they could start paying their staff more, and then worked it into the following year's budget. Is there any opportunity, something like that, for our courthouse police?
The staff, and I could have Sheena and Lindsay scoot up next to me here, but the staff will always recommend against that kind of strategy due to the ripple effect that we cause organizationally. When we did that with the sheriff, and I understood the need of why the commission did that, it created ripple for us in corrections and some other areas of the county. If we did that with courthouse police, not saying we can't, because we work for the commission, but there'll be other reaches within the organization that we will have to consider. I would hope that the commission would hear all of the budget presentations. We go forward with a holistic, comprehensive plan to fix compensation, because I think you're hearing it over and over, and that we stay away from the one-offs as best we can. Now, I'll let Lindsay pipe in on that.
I think the only 2 comments I would want to make first, just to clarify, they actually were able to use their own salary savings for that last year. We did not take any budget authority from contingency for that. And then the second point on that is we do have a compensation contingency in place this year. And one of the things that is being looked at is how that can be used strategically for several of the initiatives. So there still may yet be some discussion about how that's used for this calendar year. So I don't know if Sheena has anything she wants to add to that, but I think you'll hear about that during our compensation discussion later in the budget hearings. We do have a specific section just for that.
Very good. Commissioner Meitzner?
Thank you, Chairman. Quick question. Is it even possible to look at contract labor for some of your shortfalls? Have we even looked into that? Is it even possible?
It was studied before I came here, and the actual costs were higher than what we're the low-cost provider for law enforcement, and, we got started as filling in some needs that the sheriff's office didn't fill. Mm-hmm. Technically, everything we do is the responsibility of the sheriff's office, but the courthouse police was started many years ago to fill in some things that the sheriff was reluctant to do. And we looked at contracting, and in general, you get what you pay for in some of this stuff, because I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you. That could have been a yes/no answer, kind of, but it needed a little explanation, so.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had looked into that before, so thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief. I don't see any other questions. I appreciate it. Andrew.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Andrew Diltz, Director of Facilities. Before you, we have our org chart with our staffing levels, and our staffing levels don't represent this chart accurately anymore. We had another individual turn in his badge and uniforms yesterday, and I have another one that's on his way out tomorrow. So our staffing level in maintenance is actually a little bit worse than what's indicated here. But maintenance and project services are both less than 50% or 50% and less. And with our maintenance, we have looked at doing contractual. We're basically forced into that at this point in time. We don't have enough personnel to maintain all of our buildings with the staff that we have. To give you an example of that, we have 2 staff right now that are responsible for 13 buildings. One of those buildings is this courthouse. Those staff are on call, rotating, every other day, every other week, responding to some of the buildings that are manned 24 hours a day. And one of those 2 has had some discussion about whether or not he's going to stay or leave. So I may be down to 1. At this rate, I don't have enough staff just to manage contractors. It's getting very difficult where we're at. At the sheriff's department, we have, I've moved some positions over to that to try to supplement the operations over there. We have jail cells that are going out of service. If they destroy something and the cell is no longer safe to house a person, we have to put the cell out of order. We have a number of cells that are out of order. We're bringing in contractors, but we don't control when the contractors show up. We don't control, we really haven't, our control over the contractors and our response time is kind of limited. So we're doing the best that we can with what we have. Our strategic goals in project management, we want to organize and facilitate project management for approved capital projects to ensure timely, cost-efficient completion with high-quality standards. Our strategic goal for maintenance is to proactively and responsibly protect and preserve the value of county infrastructure. And our third strategic goal is customer service. We want to identify employee and client accommodation enhancement opportunities to project the county values of trust, integrity, collaboration, compassion, and innovation. Our challenges and opportunities on the 5-year horizon, we are still dealing with rising costs in construction materials and contract labor. This can get very difficult when we're trying to project what projects are going to cost. Take, for example, the CIP plan. We're trying to project construction projects that are more than a year out from starting, and that can get very difficult. We're dealing with obsolete equipment. We have a number of refrigerants are constantly being improved by the EPA. We have equipment that's aging. I think I've used this example in the past. We have the historic courthouse, and when they built that building, they used the materials that they had on the ground around them. And so when we had a piece of crown molding fall, it was very difficult to find a contractor who could patch that in because he wasn't using horsehair and limestone in a mixture to make the crown molding. So it can get tough depending on the age of the building and the resources that we have available. We're also evaluating space planning. As we expand the county, we have an increase in maintenance. We have an increase in operating costs. The aging buildings, I've kind of already discussed that. And then we have remote work, which has presented itself in the last couple of years as a potential opportunity to try to consolidate some space. But if those departments that go remote, if they ever have to come back in for whatever reason, if it's an emergency or whatever, we need to have a spot available that we can put them so they can show up the next day and do their job. And then we have extreme weather events. Last February, we had a very cold week or two, and it caused our utility costs to skyrocket. We also had some freezing water lines and things, some cores or heat exchangers and air handling units break. We had our on-call staff and our personnel respond to those facilities and resolve that immediately. If we were depending on a contractor at that time, we couldn't get a hold of anybody. All the contractors were out busy. They were all taking care of their regular customers, and it was very difficult. And we have our wage competition. So again, these numbers are not accurate anymore, but last week, our current vacancy rate was at 47%. If you compare this to where we were last year, we were at 11%. Between now and then, we've implemented a sign-on bonus and we've implemented critical pay. Nearly all resignations and declined job offers are citing inadequate compensation. Overall, our budget from 2022 to 2023 is decreased 5.3%. We're going from $8,151,046 in 2022 to $7,836,965. We do have one decision package in front of you. This is for the interior finishes master plan. This would take all of our county-owned buildings. This would include fire department, EMS, posts, a number of properties, 61 properties to be exact, approximately 2 million square feet. The goal would be to evaluate all of these buildings, all the finishes inside these buildings, and provide a recommended cost to improve those surfaces. So they would rate them, and these are your worst buildings that need to be done immediately. This is what it would cost to do these finishes. And then we would have a CIP that would be a revolving CIP that would be incorporated as part of this as a 10 to 15 year replacement plan for surfaces. And that's for $110,000. And I will stand for any questions.
Questions for Andrew? I don't see any right now. I just talked to an architect last night. He said before the end of the year, he's going to probably see 25% increase on just materials for everything that he's designing right now. That's just between now and the end of the year. So I understand what you're talking about. Appreciate it.
And I will speak to, when it comes to the CIPs, we typically use historical data to project what's going to happen the next year. And a lot of these opinions that on how much it's increasing, it can sway depending on who you're talking to, but it is up there, 25, 30%. It's very consistent. So thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. I appreciate the briefing. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Commissioners, I'm Corey Stokes, Director of Central Services. So as you can see, our workforce is green all around. We do have a couple of empty positions, one in the print shop, one in records management. They are currently empty just so that I can make sure that those positions align with our strategic goals. And our strategic goals in the call center, we're looking to build stronger relationships with our stakeholders and also increase customer support. When I say building stronger relationships, what I mean by that is we're looking to work collaboratively with our stakeholders, and those stakeholders includes the appraiser's office, the tag office, the treasurer's office, and the health department and ComCare. I think that if we build stronger relationships with them and train with them, we can kind of improve what it is that the call center does on a day-to-day basis. For customer service, we're looking at making sure that we have the right people in the right job and making sure that they are trained adequately to do that job. In the print shop, in the mailroom, we're looking at making sure that we're producing quality material. When there is an order put in, working with each department to make sure that we're doing what is needed, minimizing some of the rework and ensuring that our personnel are trained to do the job in the print shop. We're also looking at training and customer service. The personnel in the mailroom and the print shop are working jobs individually, meaning they're the print shop manager or the lead print shop person doesn't know what the print shop specialist does. And we're trying to ensure that training is handled to where every position knows what each other is doing. Within records management, storage is a huge, large problem. So we're looking at some opportunities for on-site storage and ensuring that records management is a resource for county departments to use. Some of the challenges and opportunities that we're facing within the call center, I've been here about 8 months, and within that 8-month period, I've had a 66% turnover rate within the public call center. That's the call center that handles the CommCare and health department phone calls. A 22% turnover rate within the tax call center that handles the tag office, appraiser's office, and the treasurer's office phone calls. Projected within the next year, this year, we're going to lose 50% of that. So I'd like to develop a training plan in order to train those replacements coming in. And again, that goes back to working with our stakeholders in order to ensure we're training adequately. The current model for the call centers is the supervisor is a working supervisor, which means there's not much of an opportunity for her to step away from the phones or him to step away from the phones in order to supervise, in order to train personnel. So I'd like to, it's an opportunity for me to take that person off of the phones full time in order for them to train the personnel, in order for them to supervise, provide feedback, and get personnel up to the standard where we want them. Within the print shop, a couple of the challenges, as I said earlier, personnel, one personnel didn't know what another personnel was doing. Case in point, the mail room is staffed at one person. If that person is not available for whatever reason, not everybody knows that mail route to deliver mail. So my plan is to be able to have all personnel within the office to be able to do each job. Within records management, like I said, space is an issue. We'd like to look for opportunities to have on-site storage, more on-site storage, rather than going out to pay off-site for storage. Even though we're looking to move towards electronic records, there's still some records within the county that need to be maintained long-term hard copy. So we need to have space to do that. As far as my budget for 2023, we're looking at a decrease of just a little bit. We're looking at $2,631,453. And I will stand for any questions.
Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. I know last year I did ask about why we're not digitizing some of these, and I guess I'm still, what is the reason that we have to have hard copies of some of these records? It's statute is the short answer. Is that something we could work on? I mean, if we're having this much trouble with space Is that something we could maybe work on, bringing the state along to show innovative ways of keeping records digitally? I mean, I just don't understand why that's still happening in 2022.
It is a process that we can look into, and I can get a direct answer for you on that.
Okay.
The conversation around document retention, you really need to get law into the room too.
Okay.
There's legal ramifications to this. We are a conduit to the state of Kansas on a number of issues. So you have to bring the state into the conversation. Those are good questions that merit a lot of review, and we should be talking about that in the future. And drawing this back to budget, it's a way potentially to save money, space, and staff. So-
Okay, yeah, I mean, I know not right now, this is not the right time, and, or we'll have any answers before this budget cycle, but it might be something to look into if, I mean, it just sounds like continuing to find space for hard copies is, I mean, in 2022, it's just kind of hard for me to wrap my mind around, so I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. On the call center, you said you take calls for, you said tag office, treasurer, election office, is that right?
And I didn't mention the election office, but yes, election office is on that list as well.
So on the treasurer's calls, the tag and treasurer office, do we take the cost of this and actually get reimbursed, if you will, from those offices? They pay for this service? Are we?
The tag office does. The other, since they're already in the county general fund, I mean, we'd just be trading money around.
Do we have discretion on how to set those fees so we know enough money's coming in to cover?
So there is a list of specific positions that are charged that gets refreshed each year, and then billed. And then, of course, we also have administrative charges that I know have been a point of contention over time, that are charged back to those other funds as well. The call center, though, is broken out from that larger admin charge and paid separately.
On the election office calls, is that year-round, or is there certain times during the election cycle where that's changed from call center back to the election office?
It flips back and forth. During the election season, our call volume is higher with election calls.
But you still take those calls?
Yes.
Okay. So if someone calls the election office, they don't call 660-7100, it goes to them, not to you, is that correct?
If they call the election office number, it goes to the election office, but during the election season, we'll work where those calls will be transferred to us.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay. I said I have any other questions right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you. In regards to document management, I'd like to also know, like, what is a historic records that we have to keep? Are there a certain number? I mean, I know in the Register of Deeds office, they have those great big books, and I wonder how much of the things that you manage are historic in nature that have to be kept because of that. So if we could, when we look into that, I'd like to know those answers as well. Thanks.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. I appreciate it. Thanks for the briefing.
Thank you.
Fleet management.
Chairman, Commissioners. Bo Bergeron, Fleet Director. First up, like everybody else, we have our workforce. It's a little misleading. We're down 2 positions in the heavy shop, but by being down those 2 positions, the supervisor is working the floor. So with that happening, we're lacking supervisory abilities. With that, we're sending more vehicles out for service at dealerships and other vendors, which then we're at their mercy on how long it's going to take. But overall, on paper it looks good, but we are lacking, and a lot of that is when we do finally get somebody hired. If they stay, it's because of benefits. If they leave, it's because of pay. Our strategic goals: vehicles and equipment. We provide routine and unscheduled maintenance in the most cost-effective manner. By doing this in-house, we save money and time. Services provide equipment and vehicles that meet the missions of the departments. One size doesn't fit all. Every department needs something different. Fuel services. We maintain fuel pumps and tanks in compliance with KDHE, monitor fuel inventories once a week to ensure they are kept between 90 and 100% capacity, ensure users are trained in regards to tanks and pumps and the KDHE compliance. Fleet availability. We monitor fleet availability and try to determine a baseline for low usage. Right now, fleet availability, we strive for 96%. Over last year, it's been 95.5%, but in the last 3 months, it's down to 95%. And some of that is because when we do send things out for vendors, it might take a while. Our 5-year horizon, challenges and opportunities. With the increasing technology and equipment, every vehicle now is coming out with new things. Some of them we can work on, some of them we can't. The ones we can, we're trying to get the software to be able to do it, but like John Deere, they won't sell as a software. So if anything is electrical that we can't diagnose, we have to send it out. We are looking at consideration for electric vehicles. There's a lot to be unpacked on that one. There are some options there that might be viable at this moment, but I think we're still a few years out. Supply chain issues and rising costs. Like everybody else, costs are going up, things are getting harder. When we used to be able to price shop and get what was cheaper, we now have to get what we can get. Consideration of leasing fleet vehicles. There are a few companies out there that offer fleet leases based on type and longevity. For some of the departments, I know there's been talk that some of the departments have people are using their personal vehicles and they've been looking at getting ones. That might be an option there. Keeping technicians trained and up to date with increased technology. That one's been tough because everything's changing so frequently, and being not a dealership, it's a little harder to get approval. Retaining qualified technicians in an in-demand industry. That's a tough one right now. When an independent dealership offers somebody more than what we're paying them flag rate to go there, they might not know what flag rate is, but the numbers look good. So that's been a challenge right now. Our budget, pretty much the same, just a little bit of a decrease. And I'll stand for any questions.
Very good. I don't see any questions right now. I have heard from some farmers that are having the same problem with John Deere, that they won't release any of the software so that they can do maintenance. You have to go back to the factory or to the factory dealer. Mm-hmm. So my question is, are we taking that into consideration when we're going out and bidding for new pieces of equipment, that we know that there are certain manufacturers won't allow us to work on their equipment?
I don't know how it's been done in the past, but that is my plan.
Very good.
Because I want to be able to work on as much stuff in-house as we can, because then we control it.
I think that's a wise decision. I appreciate it. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Chairman. Have we stood up the remount program on the ambulance?
I've looked into it. One of the biggest problems is we will lose all warranty because we are not a manufacturing company. We will lose the warranty on the chassis, and then the box company like AEV will not warranty us doing it.
How did we do this before?
Before it was a different time and they would allow it, but now they don't.
So our only option left then is to have them do the remounts?
Yes. Or buy new trucks.
Well,
which is not.
No. The box lasts several chassis, so obviously that needs to be part of our program here. But it used to be we did the remount, and we basically stopped doing it primarily because of lack of people who had time or opportunity. They did it on the weekends and overtime and things like that. I just, it seems like that's enough savings that actually would pay for some people to do this almost on purpose. but the warranty, how big of an issue is that warranty? What type of things are we talking about that would be warranted?
So anything, so like the chassis, anything front to back is warranted by the manufacturer for 3 years, 36,000. And then the powertrain is, I think some of them are now up to 100,000. Anything that goes wrong with it, if airbags blow out in 5,000 miles, we're paying for that. If the engine blows up, we're paying for that.
That's on the chassis, though.
That's on the chassis. On the box, we're not engineers, so we would essentially have to be copying what was already done and hoping it's done right, where the chassis, or where the box mounts to the body. And I personally am not good with that.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. That's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
Thank you. I have a question, and you guys might already know the answer to this, but I apologize. Fleet is not something that I have any kind of background in, so I'm trying to learn. And I know it's not going to be an apples to apples comparison because we do offer benefits that others don't, but I would be interested in just seeing kind of what the private sector pays as far as the work that's being done in the heavy-duty shop compared to what we are, just so I have a better understanding of where that's at, knowing it's not going to be perfect because of the benefits that we offer, but I would just be interested in learning a little bit more about how that compares.
Sure.
Thank you.
I can get some numbers together. I know off the top of my head, one person that just quit. I don't know if you know what flag rate is when mechanics world, but it's you get paid by the job you do, not clock hours. So most dealerships and facilities like that pay flag rate. Well, we had one person leave because he was promised $31 an hour flag rate, which is great if you can keep up with the work, but if you don't do anything, you don't get paid. Most hourly places, what we're paying now at a dealership is essentially a loop tech, someone that's just changing oil all day. But I can definitely reach out and find out more numbers.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any further questions. I appreciate it.
Chairman White Bo has the podium. Just a couple of things. He glossed over it very quickly. He talked about supply chain issues. And I know I've talked with some of you about this, but we were, for example, trying to order some sheriff's vehicles for detectives. Now, that is just a fleet car, a basic fleet car. Bo has gone out a couple of times on this for bid, and we are getting nothing back in response from the industry. So when he says supply chains, he's talking whole vehicles here, not just the parts. So that's going to be a huge challenge moving forward. And I just wanted to ask him while he was at the podium, I saw 409 unleaded today on the way in, from a fuel perspective, how are we situated for this year as far as gas budget?
I think we're going to probably have to get into the contingency. I think when the budget was done for last year, gas was $2.50, $2.60. So we're on track to be way over that. And with everybody, so 2019 or 2020 fuel usage was down because of COVID. So we're back up to close to the same numbers of usage, but fuel's much more expensive. And on the vehicle side of it, part of the costs that we're incurring is because we have an aging fleet, but we're having trouble getting new vehicles to replace that fleet right now. The 10 cars for Sheriff's Department that are just run-of-the-mill passenger cars that will put a couple lights in and a siren, we're not getting any bids on. We've lowered the specs to pretty much any passenger car with 4 doors will fit, and nobody's bid. So that's one of our struggles right now.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Tanya, you got a summary?
I do, thank you. So our division summary for next year 2023 request is $22,476,194. So that's a percentage change of decrease of 2%. And we do have that one decision package of $110,000 for the county facility interior finishes master plan. And so just to summarize, I think you heard of our challenges, opportunities in each of those departments, but I think overall, our biggest challenges is our staffing. You've heard that from courthouse, police, and facilities. My biggest concern is in facilities being under 50%. Andrew talked about, that we don't have the maintenance staff. We're having to call in our on-call vendors. I think at this point, we're even looking at bringing in a maintenance company to have them help because we're so low staff. So as you look at your budget and those competing priorities, I just will reiterate what Rusty said yesterday, and that is just to please, consider that employee compensation so that we can bring some staff in to help us.
Very good, I appreciate it. I don't see any questions for you. Preview for tomorrow, we've got public services and finance. No?
We do, and we have time for the manager's budget today if I,
We don't?
I can get done in 12 minutes. I don't know what Keem will do, but I can be done in just a few minutes, so. Yeah, we can get caught back up. Is that okay?
Sure.
And we also will cancel tomorrow's session. There are some
Tomorrow's canceled.
conflicts, so we are trying to work through the
So this is the
scheduling
one that's
details
moved to
now.
May 20th?
Right. The 20th is, we are adding a 1 to 4 time slot on the 20th, and we're trying to juggle around who goes where, and then you'll get an updated calendar.
Okay, so nothing tomorrow.
Correct.
Very good.
All right, let me take you quickly through the county manager's budget, and Akeem and I will tag team this. He'll cover the communications part of it, and then Tanya may, if the commission has questions, we can talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion as well. If you look at the staffing table, there are 16 full-time employees that are accountable to the manager's office, which includes me, the two assistant county managers, the deputy county manager, Linda and Sabrina, and then the communications group. You'll see two numbers on here. We're showing temporarily 17 FTEs because we didn't know where to stick Tate exactly. She's a fellow, and she's working with us for a temporary time, so we include her under the manager's office.
Did you have slides for your presentation?
I did. Oh, hard copies. They're grabbing them now, sir. You want me to hold up or you want me to blaze?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, let's very quickly go through 4 strategic goals that the manager's office has. Sorry, Tanya, I guess I blew that. I was okay. Physically where they are.
Yeah.
Well, they're online in the folder. I guess you don't have your computer.
Yeah. Clearly, we need more staffing in the managers. Let me go through and just talk with you at 30,000-foot level on strategic plan. And 2 of these 4 are related. First of all, the goal of the manager's office is to constantly look at efficient ways of doing business with people's tax money. To expand partnerships, to look at privatization, consolidations of the service, and anything we can do from a manager level to improve service delivery in the county. We look at, in our new strategic plan, we looked at the concept of diversity, and there's a couple of reasons to do that. One is it's a legal, moral, and ethical thing to do, to make sure you have a diverse work environment that models and mirrors the community that you serve. And the most, and as equally as important is we need all hands on deck right now from a talent perspective. Doesn't matter what color you are, what gender you are, how you affiliate. We need workers in the county. So this is part of our talent efforts moving forward to be inclusive of all people and hopefully have all types of people come work for Sedgwick County. That's our goal. And then finally, and for those of you who have heard me speak in front of community groups, I talk a lot about the complexity of county government and the differences in managing a county government versus a municipality. We have a number of elected officials in this county, not just U5, but of course a sheriff, a DA, the rural offices, and 2 appointed officials that do not work directly under the county. So we are constantly working, my staff and I work constantly to work with all elected offices so that we all work together to serve the people of Sedgwick County. I want to go back to goal 3 just for a second. We talk in here a lot about pay and money, and you've heard that over and over, and you'll continue to hear that over and over through the duration of these budget cycles. We all understand it is not only about pay. It is about the environment we work in. It is about the equipment we use to do our jobs. It is about how we treat one another. It is about the morale and how we train and how we have people grow within positions. It's a lot more than pay, but every one of those facets, there comes a cost. For example, it costs to train people. And you have to train people, you have to have the ability to get them out of their workplace temporarily, to train them. And in some of these areas today, we have no ability to do that because we are at 50 and 60% staffing. So we have to fix this one step at a time, but there is a comprehensive plan moving forward to do this. I have Tanya on deck in case my voice poops out on me. The challenges and opportunities moving forward, we are still unfortunately having to deal with COVID. We have pretty aggressively in the last 30 to 60 days begun to scale down operations. We hope we can stay scaled down. We're watching what's going on in the world and in the rest of the country, and we don't know that we're there yet, so that still is a primary focus of management. We have made a commitment to a culture of diversity and inclusion. Tanya has a very nice plan moving forward for growth of diversity and inclusion in this organization. There are other governments looking at our model right now and would like to mirror that to some degree, and you will have the staff presentations distinctly on that topic alone within the next few weeks when we get time. But we've made a real commitment to do that. We are, through this budget process, we have to make, not through this budget process, the next several budget processes, we have to make a move to create ways to get workforce to come here. It has to be sustainable. We have to pay. We have to give the benefits and all the other things I just spoke about, environment and morale, and how we get people to kind of come work for Sedgwick County and stay here. We will continue to look at concepts of longevity pay, and we talked with some of you all about this at your retreat. There are a lot of different kinds of benefits and packages you can put together to try and entice and encourage employees to come here. We will continue to look at those. We, as a management team, continue to collaborate with all of our external partners, and we have many. As a county government, we have 20 municipalities in the county. We have several private sector partners. We have hospitals. We have universities who we partner with, and we all have meetings with, as do you, on a weekly basis almost now. There's just a lot of action in this community. And I think that's, as we've tried to schedule these budget hearings, it was difficult. Why? Because we're all out in the community working with partners and especially commissioners. So it was extremely challenging this year to even sit down and get a budget calendar set. But I think that's a good news for us. We're all out working in the community. And then a big thing is going to be this continued space analysis discussion that the commission has been having for many years. We will be moving, whether we like it or not, within the next 60 days at some point, and it's going to be a long process, but we will continue to look at space and how we can efficiently use space in the county to best serve the people. The budget is relatively flat. As you will see, all budgets come in from the county. We work in a flat budget cycle, so that's no different for the manager's office. And I just skipped to you, Akeem. All right.
Afternoon, Akeem.
Hey, good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. Akeem Ashford, Communications Director. Just to go through the Strategic Communications Plan, our number one goal is to increase public trust through greater access and transparency, multiple communications platforms and/or tactics, methods of community engagement. We will continue to develop a strategic communication plan that reflects the current media environment that's ever changing, provide media training to department heads and then designees to help us get the word out, continue to communicate the culture of public service, improve social media coordination throughout the county in alignment with social media policy that was recently created, and produce communication materials that are accessible for diverse demographics. And we saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic. We actually contracted with several businesses here in our community to communicate in Spanish, Vietnamese, and then also just culturally with the Black Nurses Association. So we found that to be very, very important. Strategic goal number 2 is an improved public perception of the positive impact of Sedgwick County. This is really something that I talked about whenever I interviewed for this position. You've got to build those relationships, and then once things happen, because things do happen, you are able to leverage those relationships to continue moving the work forward. So we hope to continue to promote more success stories through amplified methods of storytelling, new inventive ways. Last night we saw that with Commissioner Cruz and her event. We had this word cloud that she wanted to do. We got it. We made it happen. And so it was really effective to actually, to the folks that were in the room, to actually visually see those. So those kind of methods are really important. We're going to continue to increase engagement opportunities for direct contact with the public. So just meeting people where they are. Town halls, DABs, newsletters, those kind of things that we do. We'd love to do more of those. As COVID, when I came on, we couldn't really do those, but we hope to do more, get out into the community a little bit more. And then also implementing a community survey. It's always good to find out what people think about you, right? Sometimes it's not good, but it also tells you exactly what you're doing right and what you can also improve on. So we hope to actually do that in the future. Strategic goal number 3 is to strengthen internal communications among divisions and departments. That's by fostering opportunities for internal cross-department collaboration. We currently have a quarterly comms meeting where we meet with department heads to kind of figure out what they're doing. We tell them what we're doing, what we're looking for. That's been really good for us. Formalizing media points of contact throughout the organization. So kind of that departments, people in those departments who are on the ground telling us what's happening, what's going on. C, improve communication with mid-level managers through direct contact with the county manager and his office. The 5-year horizon. So when I got here, I had a full staff, and then we lost a couple people, right? So, attrition, that's fine. I often tell people this is one of the hardest jobs because kind of are the punching bag, right? You get all the information, and you have to help communicate that. And so that's a very important job that I always take seriously. But we were able to fill 3 of 5 positions over this last year. Our social media coordinator, our communications relations specialist, and our senior graphic designer. And I got to tell you what, these guys are really kicking ass right now and just doing some amazing work. And so I hope that you all feel the same way. We also brought in an additional COVID ARPA PIO in Stephanie Bergman. She's really just awesome. She's doing some amazing work to help us communicate that as well. COVID-19 provided in multiple languages and worked to collaborate, kind of talked about this before, targeting messages and also into the minority community. We're currently exploring a Sedgwick County Spanish Facebook page, so we're really excited about this. Mesa, Arizona, we actually had a contact conversation with the person that created that. We're hoping to bring that same thing here. Carolina Lozano is just doing some awesome work, and so she's going to spearhead that. And as you guys know, she is bilingual, so we're super excited about that too. Positive social media posts, we've been doing that. We continue to do that, targeting opportunities for stories in the Board of County Commissioner and employee newsletters on programs and employees. I've got bi-weekly meetings with you all. Want to continue having those, and I've got some after this. Just let me know what's going on. We're going to be there with you guys. Communications chats, we already talked about that, and then going into departments. I didn't really get to do that because of COVID, because people were working from home, so I'm actually going to get out and take Commissioner Lopez's lead to actually get into departments and do some work with them, so I'm looking forward to that. We're also looking at new branding, website refresh. We hope to refresh the website. We've always heard that it's antiquated and old, so we'll hopefully do more of that here in the near future. More storytelling and then media training as well. I'm sending my people to trainings digitally still kind of right now. Stephanie's out at one, and so is Carolina. So we're going to continue to do that and continue to push for that as well. Looking at our budget, again, as you heard, it's flat. We've actually down just 3.8% at $776, $713. And I'll stand for any questions that you may have. I think you guys are laughing at my word choice, huh? Sorry.
Cruz.
It's called a sentence enhancer.
There you go.
That's what it's called.
There you go, Commissioner.
Hey, so real quickly,
Yes, ma'am.
What year did we allocate? I thought we allocated $60,000 in one of the budget cycles.
We
for
did
the
a couple years ago
website.
before I got here, but I think we asked for more, right, Tanya? I think we're at about $150,000 right now. You're going to come up?
Commissioner Cruz, to your question, I think it was 2020 is when we had 60,000 in there. And so I'll just, to kind of speak to this, this is something that we have been trying to work on. I'll be very honest with you. And COVID hit, and it put it to the side, and then we had staffing issues, and that put it to the side. And so it's not anything that we haven't been trying to work on. It's just those two major issues have put it to the back burner. And so I apologize. This is nothing that I like to come up and say, but we want to work on this. We've been trying to work on it, but it's just something that we haven't been able to do because of those two issues. So we do keep talking about this, and this is a priority for communications to do this, both the rebranding and the website refresh.
Great. Looking forward to what it will evolve to. And then secondly, I know that we're on LinkedIn and Facebook. Are we on Instagram?
We are.
Have we gotten into the TikTok yet?
So we have not. However, so fentanyl, we had a directive, and we've been working with the sheriff quite a bit. We actually have 3 or 4 influencers on TikTok right here in Sedgwick County who have hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. So we're actually going to leverage them. They've actually partnered with us to actually do promotions for fentanyl, and then hopefully we'll eventually get into TikTok as a whole. We just have to kind of find a way to properly do that. We just don't want to jump in there and not have a plan to actually do it. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. And are those in multiple languages as
They
well?
are. They will
Okay.
be. Yep.
Good. Great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
Thank you. Well, I can tell you that I completely agree. I've noticed, I won't say it from the bench, but you guys are really hitting your stride. Since I've joined, I've seen people go and then be replaced, and it does seem like you guys are really doing some good things, and I can really see a big difference. But I do want to just mention, and I'm really happy we're having this DEI, I know we're not having it right now, but this DEI conversation, because it is important that we get information out to people where they can understand it. I love that we are going to have a Facebook page that'll be in Spanish. I just want to make sure that we're very careful that if, God forbid, Carolina leaves, that we have a way to continue that, because it would be very hard for us to start something, an initiative like that, and then we have one person go, and then it's dead in the water, and what that does to our communities that will rely on it. So I do want to just make sure that we're being very careful in how we look at that, but I'm really excited to see all these things happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Akeem, I don't see anything else. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Manager, I have nothing else. Lorian, no previews, since I already screwed up the previews. Very good. I don't see anything else. We're adjourned. We'll see you on Thursday then.
We can have time to talk about all of these at one time sometime. I have comments not related to any one of them, but all of them.
We will have a 1 hour block at the very end that set aside.